welcome back to the greatest Bi-City podcast in the world. I'm your host, Danny G. This is my co-host, Kyle Austin.
What's up?
And today we have a very special guest. We got the one, the only, the founder of Honey Suckle Brand himself. We got Carlos. Yo, what's up, Carlos? You're muted. Hold on, Carlos, you're muted, buddy.
Sorry.
No,
I was thinking the Tua thing. Thing.
Well, welcome, Carlos. It's really nice to have you on. We were just kind of talking a little bit at the beginning of the show, trying to get to know you a little bit more. But man, it's really good to have you on. I'm personally very excited for this conversation as a whole. We're going to be talking about some really cool things. So for those who don't know about Honeysuckle, let's tell us a little about your brand, Carlos.
Yeah, man. So HoneySuckle Brand just kind of came out of nowhere, to be quite honest with you. I've been consuming cannabis since I was a teenager, and my wife and I have had multiple businesses, and we've been in this entrepreneur ecosystem here in Houston for a couple of years now. And she came home one day and she was like, I'd like to do a CBD coffee, and I really wasn't all that excited about it. Anyway, long story short, she took me to see a friend of hers. I discovered that Delta 8 was legal, and I was like, wow, okay, we can make a business out of this. And so HoneySuckle Brand is a casual hemp CBD Delta 8 company, lifestyle brand, and we specialize in more on the casual recreational side. Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so being a Delta 8 and hemp retailer, would retailer be the right word?
Perfect. Yep.
Yeah. Like, how difficult has it been to get into Delta 8? Because I know when I first met you a couple months ago, we were talking about Delta 8, and Texas had just passed that crazy ban on Delta 8 where it was illegal for 24 hours or something like that. And then all of a sudden they changed it.
For like a week.
And yeah. So like what has been the obstacles being a Delta 8 retailer, especially here in Texas?
Man, that's a great question. I would say that what you just described with the Delta 8, that wasn't even the biggest obstacle. The biggest obstacle really was finding a bank that was gonna take my deposits, finding a credit card processor that would process my credit card payments. Wow. Those were the biggest hurdles. Companies like Square, they do have a CBD program, but man, I've heard just so many horror stories of people with their bread tied up with Square, and they want to release it, and then it's kind of like Instagram, right? Like it's this huge company. It's not like customer service is their thing. You know what I mean? So your money's in limbo, and so I held out until the last, as long as I could, from October when I met you all the way into January. I was doing things on pen and paper. And so
wow.
You would come to my shop, you'd buy something, I had a product list, I'd tally it. At the end of the day, we would mark everything that was sold, and we only took Cash App, Venmo, and cash. And
I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
So finally, we were able to get the bank first, bank out of Waco. I'm going to give them a shout out. The First National Bank out of Waco. So they're 420 friendly or hemp friendly bank. And then, that's been the biggest hurdle. That D8 thing, the genie's out there. Crazy. There's really nothing else they can do at this point, in my opinion.
That's so crazy, because I was thinking like legalities would be the hardest thing to do, but you're over here talking about the bread. Something I never would have thought of is how the money moves.
It makes sense though, because it comes down to, is a bank willing to take the risk at that point to supply something that could potentially go out of business, depending on legality, very quickly. So in a way, it does kind of tie into legality, and it makes sense, but it's also so unfair for like the growing business, right? And when you're looking at it from a perspective of like a business owner or somebody who's wanted to be an entrepreneur, especially in a newer field like cannabis, like hemp, like CBD, it is a kind of almost a scary thing to kind of feel like, okay, like, how am I going to do this? Like, and having people like you, Carlos, specifically is like a great, just general avenue to kind of like show people how they can actually do it, and how in the long run it is going to be difficult and there are going to be challenges, but there are people who are up for the cause and also are like friendly toward, experimental businesses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100%. And companies like that First National Bank. And to be honest with you, there were times where I got frustrated. Like I went to Chase Bank because I saw online that they said that they would do it, and it was just like a lot of doors getting slammed in my face. And there were moments where you're just like frustrated, like damn, And then I put my businessman hat on. I took the emotion out of it, and I realized that, hey, listen, I get it. Aside from what you just mentioned of a potential of the business going out because of legalities or whatever, I mean, there's a huge potential for money laundering. I mean, let's just be upfront. You know what I mean? There's a huge risk involved there. So I understand it. But like any business, you just got to pivot. You just got to it's like the ant. The ant, something you put in front of it, it just goes over it or it goes around it. It finds a way. So you just keep pushing along,
Oh, beautifully said, man. Beautifully said. Yeah, that's so crazy. So what inspired you to do recreational? Because like usually when you hear CBD or you hear Delta 8, Delta 9, like everyone's more of a medicinal, make you feel good for back pain, shoulder pain, joint pain. What made you decide like to go into the recreational? Because it's such a different ball game. I mean, you're coming up with amazing products that are awesome. Like I said before we started recording, I am a avid fan and user of your products. But I'm just curious, like what inspired that side of it rather than going like everyone else into the medical side.
Man, that's a multi-layered answer there. First and foremost, like I said, I've been consuming cannabis since I was a teenager, and but I had a blind spot. I never thought that I could make a business out of it, and it just never crossed my mind. Like you guys love what you're doing. You're making this podcast. You're making a business out of it. You're doing something with it. It never even crossed my mind. And so, you heard the brand Cookies?
Yeah,
that's been my inspiration. I love just the way he does everything. His business model, Burner. I love everything that they do. The community that they've built around it. These dudes camp outside for 3 days outside his dispensary to get a new drop. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. That's what really inspired me, and so. I wanted to, I thought that everybody was in the CBD space was going in the green health and wellness, everybody's logo is green and all of that. And so I wanted to differentiate myself. And really, to be honest with you guys, was just getting ready for when they legalize, you know what I mean? And so I wanted to make sure that at this point in the game of life, nobody's inventing anything new. Everything's already been done. And so now it's just branding. And so branding is everything. How does your customer feel? Your comments and everything that you've said, I mean, that's gold, man. That makes me so happy. The customer journey is so important. The way you feel when you see our logo, the way you feel when you hold it in your hand, the way you feel when the sugar hits your tongue, all of that is part of it, right? And so, Burner has been my inspiration. I thought that the West Coast has their brand that they identify with in cannabis, and I thought that it would be cool if the southeast part of the United States had that part. I grew up on the East Coast, on South Carolina and South Florida and Georgia, and then now I'm here in Houston. And so, I just wanted something that we could call our own in the cannabis space and still, be something from here,
Bro, that's dope. That's so dope. But it's true what you're saying. Branding is everything, right? Branding is just look at Supreme, look at Burner, look at Nike.
Yacht Club.
Yeah. Yacht Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so crazy how branding can make you or break you, really. And
absolutely.
speaking about branding, like where did the name Honeysuckle come from?
So, like I said before, you weren't here. I mean, he and I were talking off camera before. I was born in South Carolina, but my parents are from Cuba, and so I used to go to Miami every summer for 3 months. But I would spend the school year, in South Carolina and also in Georgia. And so everywhere there's honeysuckle flowers. You go out, as a kid, you go bike riding, you're in the woods, there's flowers all over the place. And the kid, we used to just pick them off and pull up bottoms out and suck on the nectar, and it was sweet. And so to me, it was just kind of like a nostalgia thing. As I said, I'm a Gary V disciple. So like nostalgia sells, and so I was trying to tap into that. Come to find out, the plant is medicinal, which I had no clue before we started this.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, dude, you can eat the buds. You can make it into a tea. And so it was just crazy how that. And then crazy story, my wife actually brought home some Eastern medicine, some traditional Chinese medicine, and the principal ingredient was honeysuckle, which was it blew my mind. So that's where the name came from. I just thought it was a cool name, and the font that I chose was just like, I don't know, it was just kind of one of those things.
That's wild. I relate to that, actually, generally speaking. Yeah. I used to live in Kentucky for like a while. When I was really young. I live here now, of course, but when I was younger, I lived here for 3 years, and I distinctly remember us like actually grabbing honeysuckle because our parents would tell us, hey, like it's supposed to be super sweet, and you would just go ahead and like, just chew it. Just you're like, oh, you're gonna get some sweetness out of it, almost like a little bit of a gum, and then you spit it out while you're playing like football or something like with your friends, things like that, just in general. And it's just it's so nostalgic because it always was like almost like sugar cane, if that makes sense. Like it's not that sweet, but it's supposed to mimic almost like that sweetness of like, don't worry about candy, like you got like this natural thing that you could really enjoy. And I always remember feeling really nostalgic of that. So when I saw like the name of your brand, I was like, because I'm also being, it's also considered like, Midwest, that east part of the United States, like they all grow there. So I was like, oh man, it just reminds me of back when I was a kid. So yeah, nostalgia does sell legitimately, because I was like, as somebody who, can't currently partake in like just a general brand, right? Like I was just like, oh, this is still so nostalgic. I want to support this brand regardless, like in any way that I can.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And we wanted it to be very inviting. I feel like in the cannabis industry, it's still a lot of stigma around it. You know what I mean? And so where we're located, also like people walk by, and if it's like green or there's a lot of like, pictures of pot plants and stuff like that, like I totally aged myself with the word pot. But there's like, plants all around. Like some people get scared of that. They get intimidated by it. I can't tell you how many people have come by and said, oh, I've never tried THC before. I've never tried that before, but the colors just made me want to stop. So I'm down to try. And that's really cool. And then you were asking me about the recreational side. Spent a lot of time in Miami, and in Miami, and I'm Cuban, so if there's one thing we know how to do, it's party and have a good time. So I like to party, I like to have fun, and so that's kind of why we wanted to go like to the recreational side, because if you go to a party and you're the guy with the weed, then you're gonna be everybody's friend.
Yeah, right? You just made friends with everybody.
You made friends with everybody. Oh, that's the guy with the weed over there.
Right? Go hang out with him. He's got the good stuff.
Totally.
100%.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome.
What's it called? Okay, so I do have a question. Just general distribution question regarding kind of like sourcing the product, just in general. Like, so what, I guess we can start from the beginning. What does it take for you to realize, okay, when I'm making this into my brand, this is like the specific product I need? Like depending on what farm you get like the hemp from, or wherever you need to get, whatever derivative you need to get, what makes you kind of figure out, okay, this is where I need to go. This is the quality that I'm looking for. And this is why I'm going to go with this farm over this farm. It's just an example.
Perfect. Great question. But first, I think somebody had a question in the chat about what is a Gary V disciple. Do you guys want to like answer that, or?
Oh yeah, go for it. I think me and Kyle both know, but for whoever's listening, if you want to explain it, go for it.
Oh, Gary V is Gary Vaynerchuk. He's man, what is he? He's just a guru, I guess. I hate to call him a motivational speaker because he's not that. He's just an entrepreneur, who just, that's what he is, man. He's just an entrepreneur who started, you know, working in his dad's liquor store and started from the bottom. Now we're here type shit. And, you know, was one of the first people back in 2007 to be on YouTube and be able to create content on YouTube, and took his dad's wine business from 3 million a year to 60 million on the back of Google AdWords. And so I just kind of have consumed a bunch of his content. I relate a lot to him. We were close in age. He's a Jets fan. I'm a Dolphins fan. So I just relate to him. So I've read a bunch of his books, you know, so. But to answer your question, in terms of where do we like source the products and how do I make that decision and all that kind of stuff. In the beginning, it was just, you know, picking up the phone and calling and experimenting on myself. If you're interested in getting into the hemp business, I can't speak on, you know, cannabis in California, and I'm not familiar with their regulations and what their rules are and how much the license are. I know they're expensive, but when we're talking about like federally legalized industrial hemp in the state of Texas, it's very simple to get in. It's not a regulated industry. And so when I first started doing research, when I discovered Delta 8, I went and bought a vape cart from a smoke shop. And as soon as I hit it, I just could tell, I was like, this is not it. It just did not feel right inside my body. And so I just kept digging and digging, making phone calls, asking for samples. And then the cool thing is, like, people in the cannabis industry, as you can tell, we love to talk about it. Every person that I've encountered has been more than happy to share information and connect me with contacts and things like that. And so vetting people out, how transparent are they? You know, do they have certificate of analysis on their products before I even get them? You know what I mean? Do they take that extra step? All of those things are super important, and because they tell you the character of the business, right? You know, they're how much do they care? They're like, do they want to make money or do they want to build a business? And those two things are two different things.
No, for sure. No, it makes 100% sense. Like, and so I guess that part, I guess, when you're looking at it too, because I guess a big question is just like a blunt question asked too, is all hemp the same? Like, when you're looking to quality test, like, is it all the same? And kind of what specifically are you looking for?
So a majority of my business is gummies, is edibles. That's what we do the most of. I do pre-rolls. I don't do a whole lot of D8 flower, but I do pre-rolls, and those sell very well. For our customer, a lot of our customers are what we call canna curious, right? Or they just want the convenience. They don't want to do they're not so much connoisseurs, right? And so, yes, not all hemp flower is created equal. I've seen hemp flower from, I'll give him a shout out right now. I forgot his name, but it's 4K Farms, and they're out of Giddings. He's got some 4K Farms. You can go on his website and purchase bomb CBD. I'm talking about CBD that looks like chronic. Yeah, like it's unbelievable. Okay. It looks like if you get pulled over with it, you better have a COA with you, because it looks like. So yeah, not all, and so most of what I get is pre-rolls and the edibles, and then, like I said, as far as the edibles go, it's just, you know, eating them myself. You know, I work with another manufacturer here locally in Houston. I try to source from Texas as much as I can, but it's just hard because not everybody has the quality. But I got some really good D9 gummies that I get right here in Houston. They also make nectar. Nectar here is from Houston as well. And nectar is just cool. What we call our water soluble THC.
Which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of. Like, I went to y'all's Canna cocktail night, and I wasn't sure what to expect, right? So when we went over there, me and my fiance went. We got she got the Paloma sunrise, or the sunrise, the nectar sunrise. I got the Paloma. They were delicious. The drink like itself looked just like a perfectly alcoholic made drink, but it had the nectar in there. They put 2 pumps in there, and at first I'm drinking, and I was like, man, I don't know if it's gonna hit. Like I was like, I don't think nothing's gonna happen. You know, I waited 10 minutes and I still felt nothing. And then the music, and because y'all had a whole event, beautiful event, by the way. Like, it was awesome. Y'all had the DJ at Railway Heights. If y'all have never been, I recommend it. There's awesome food spots. Honeysuckle's there. There's what is it? OG 713. That's a printing company that does shirts and all sorts of merchandise. I mean, great food, great art, and it was just cool because y'all had the lights, y'all had the DJ along the art wall, and the drinks were awesome. A bunch of people were there. It was just a great, fun night to socialize and talk to people. But 30 minutes in, that's when it hit me, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like, I was not expecting it to be this strong, but it was good.
I'm glad you liked it, bro.
I loved it, man. I love that mellow buzz you got off of it. It was a great night. Great time.
Yeah, we really feel like you know, to differentiate ourselves, we have to be innovative with things like that and try different things, and you know, because that this is where we're at in Texas right now, you know, and so people love to smoke flower, and unfortunately, you're not gonna smoke a D8 flower and look for that smack or get that smack that you're looking for with just regular bud. You're just not, and that's okay. And you know, the analogy that I give people when I'm at the shop as it relates to Delta 8 is Delta 8's like having a beer, and Delta 9 or traditional THC is like taking a shot.
Yeah, I agree. Right? I agree 100%. Yeah, like I said, I didn't know what to expect, and it hit me differently. Like, I wasn't expecting that kind of buzz off of it, which is really impressive. Like, I was surprised. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the night. Y'all had a great DJ out there, and it was just a great time. It was a fun night.
Thank you, man. We're doing a 420 event, so
yeah,
you definitely have to come out. We got approval to get it done there at Railway, you know, and it's going to be outside in the beer garden. So I have a local reggae band called Them Roots that's going to be performing. Nice. I also have some fireworks going on. I'm not sure why.
It's Texas. I get it.
Yeah. Another gentleman is going to perform. His name is Coffee Guzman. He's half of the group Gio Chamba, and then the same DJ is going to come out. So yeah, man, we're really excited about it. You can check out those tickets at HoneySuckleBrand on Instagram. There's a link to it right there.
Perfect. I will definitely do my very best to be out there. Like I said, I enjoyed the Cannon Cocktail night, and I want to make it for the 420 day.
Yeah. How did your wife like it? Did your fiance?
She enjoyed it.
Yeah.
She enjoyed it too. She made me buy her some of the Delta 8 watermelon gummies. Yeah, those are good too. They sneak up on you though.
We needed to find a way, because as we were saying before, like nothing is brand new. Like, you know, people are just you had the brand, right? And so we were trying to think of a way to create an experience where people could come and experience without having to smoke, because we just smoke inside, right? And so when my buddy introduced me to the nectar or to the water soluble THC, I said, oh, I gotta have that, dude. I need to have that in my store like ASAP. And so it's been really, really cool, man. And Railway, as you said, like they've been super supportive. Obviously we pay rent there, but still, like they've been super cool with like letting us do what we want to do. And it'd be dumb of us not to leverage that space, because that space is just is incredible, you know.
That's a beautiful space. It's well built. I love the layout. Like, you go in and you feel like you're in a little market, just picking at everything. The food's great too. Like, for anyone that hasn't been there, y'all did a collab with Peaky Grinders, the burger place.
Yeah,
best burger I've ever had.
Those burgers are so good, bro.
Yeah, best burger I've ever had.
They did the Asian market there for the Lunar New Year. They had 9,000 people go through there that weekend. It was insane.
Also, talk about a marketing collab. Side note, just to think about that. Like Cannabis Talk with Peaky Grinders and HoneySuckle branding. I'm just saying. Place, it would, like, it just sounds like it could be perfect. You can make some really cool infused burgers or something like that. It could make space be a good vibe.
I feel bad. We're just talking about how awesome Houston is, and poor Kyle's is in Kentucky, man. I feel bad, dude.
You know what though? When he comes down here, I'm gonna have to take him out there. So we can maybe meet up.
No, I'm gonna check out
the place.
Well, come down for 420, bro.
Yeah, for real.
Gonna have to go party with the boys. Sounds like a good time, man. I did see some of the what do you call it, the Snapchats and stuff and general Instagram stories that Danny was posting. I was like, that place looks like a vibe. Like, it just looks so cool. I was really liking all the colors and the lights and stuff like that were kind of like associated specifically with y'all's booth too. Just in general, I was like, oh man, it looks like it's like a chill vibe there and everything. I like, y'all are, for one, super smart going, like you said, away from like the greens and kind of focusing more on like the purples and yellows and, just kind of adding more color, a little bit of different type of substance. Because for one, just looking at it from a perspective of somebody who, used to partake back in the day too, not all weed is green.
Yeah.
As an example. Sometimes there's little purples and Keith's gold, like there's like different colors that are expressed. It doesn't have to always be green, so it doesn't have to be the same color, but it can all still kind of fit in with the brand, if that makes sense, especially from a color perspective. And I don't know, plus not to mention those are very cool, mellow colors too. And so the whole vibe you're giving off is like, a party vibe, but also a mellow party vibe, if that makes sense.
You completely nailed it, because I come from the music background in Miami. I was a manager for an underground artist, and we were always say, like, you got to be a local hero first before you can become a national hero. And so when we came up with the colors, Cookies already had blue, so I wasn't going to do blue. Yellow or the gold makes sense with the honeysuckle flower, so that just made sense. And then the purple, you nailed it. I said purple, bud is purple.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what I said. And I said, what else is purple? Well, we're in Houston. Purple drink. Everybody loves purple in Houston, bro. Everybody loves it.
Absolutely.
Orange, the same thing. Orange, the same thing. Orange Crush. You got the Astros. You got, the Dynamo. And then the little red hairs on the bud. they're orange. So you nailed it, bro. Nailed it.
Nice.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I think it's cool because, like I said, I used to partake. I no longer do. I haven't since college, just because of my job. Just generally speaking, I have to be very careful, even from a CBD regulation standpoint. I know it sounds crazy, and it sounds insane, and it could be all, what do you call it, talk in general. But we actually had an email come through, and I guess it was based on the test that they use, and I couldn't even partake, and they forbid people from doing it because there's like a small like 0.00001% of THC that pops up or something like that. And if you get a hair test, it counts as a positive. It'll count as a positive.
Oh yeah, you're done with a hair test. Forget about it.
Yeah, which is crazy
That's
to
so
me.
crazy.
Just in general, which actually it's funny because I do know, some people in like the staffing field in general that actually have talked about, just in general, because of the way legality and stuff is changing as a whole. It's the way people staff, the way people hire is changing. So you're also seeing people actually stray away from hair follicle tests and stuff like that because they need a workforce, because there's a lot of more people that are just, partaking in just cannabis consumption as a whole, whether that be CBD, whether that be Delta 8, whether that be just straight going into like THC Delta 9, like moving into that field, right? Like people are partaking in it, whether companies want it to or not. So like people are starting to pivot without actually openly saying that they're doing it, So I think it's cool, but I guess it comes to the point is like, for now, like I'm in this position, right, where until the full federal legality occurs, I'm stuck like Chuck. Like, especially if I want to continue to hold my job, and that sucks, especially for like new people coming into the market, right? And so what are some ways as things tend to change, right? If you were to talk to some of these companies, right, just in general, like I said, I won't really say where I work or what I do, but just in general, because I don't like to put it out there. But if you were to talk to some of these companies, what are some things you would say to them to kind of sway them in the right direction, so to speak?
Man, that's a really good question. That's a really, really good question. I think part of my case would definitely be how much more harmful alcohol is to cannabis. That would definitely be part of my conversation with them, and that their employees probably go home and drink on a nightly basis, or definitely on a weekly basis. So that would definitely be part of it. I think that, and I'm hoping that employers are starting to understand that y'all's generation, you know, the younger millennials and the Gen Z that's coming right behind, mostly the millennials though. That's the new workforce that's coming in to replace the baby boomers.
Absolutely.
And so that this is a different person. This is a person who has way different values than the baby boomers, way different values than even the Gen Xers. And so if you're going to want to recruit the top talent for your company that's going to be out there in the market, then you're going to have to be able to provide things like insurance for mental health, you know, maybe a gym on site, you know, remote work, which, I mean, like, you know, so
Absolutely.
if you in the marketplace of talent in the workforce, you're going to have to do some give and take. And, you know, you'll have those that, you know, have you ever heard of the law of diffusion of innovation?
I know, but I actually am curious to hear more about it.
So I'm not an expert. I just saw a really good Simon Sinek video where he did a TED Talk, and it's just really insightful. There's this arc that's like this, and it's the law of diffusion of innovation, where you have the early adopters, people that are jumping on nectar and drinkable THC, right? We're the innovators. Me and D are the innovators and early adopters, right? And then you have the mass acceptance or market acceptance, right? And then you have the laggards, the people who are, to quote him in the video, are still using rotary phones.
Yep.
Right. And so that if you take that same model and you know, put it in whatever context, the one we're talking about right now, like you'll have the early adopters, you know, you'll have the innovators, like the people in Denver, they're allowing their people to get stoned at work. You know, I let my people get stoned at work. Mm-hmm. You know, you have then the early adopters, mass exception, and then you'll have people that are laggards that will die on that flag that my employees are not going to be able to smoke weed, and, you know, they'll suffer the consequences, I guess.
For sure. Mm-hmm. You know, I think it's interesting, sure. Like you said, like there is absolutely a big change happening in the way that companies and the workforce as a whole is starting to no longer see it as the company is what provides what's needed. You as the person, you know, from a millennial perspective, right, are what's providing value to the company, not the other way around. So whenever you're building, and this is the way a lot of people build, right, is you're providing them a service in a lot of ways as a company, right? And in order for them to you to provide that service, sometimes it is like necessary for them to listen, right? And listen to what people have to say. The world is changing. You need to move with the change or you're going to get left behind. There are plenty of fields right now that you can definitely see are either getting left behind or they're moving forward. Just as an example, like right now, like as I've told you before, I'm huge in NFTs, I'm huge into cryptocurrency. And right now, like, that's a big innovative space. Web 2 moving into, as they transition into Web 3, right, is a big space that's changing. And a lot of people think it's a scam. A lot of people don't get it. And because they don't get it, they criticize it. And I think it's the same thing for the cannabis industry as a whole. A lot of people don't understand it. And because they don't understand it, they don't want to understand it. In fact, they want to not have it around. But if you do research on the history of cannabis and why cannabis as a whole is illegal in the first place, at least from a federal level, you'd find that it's actually more tax-based incentives and also more state governance and federal governance rather than actual realistic, like it all became like just these phony kind of pushes, you know, versus like the paper versus hemp conversation, which led to a lot of this the legality issues over time. And then they kind of face it over, you know, reefer madness and all that kind of stuff as it happened. And that's why people are so afraid of it, like now, right? But I guess the big question, right, is how do you innovate in a space where the government as a whole is almost holding you back from fully being able to realize that full innovation, being able to fully move into what you're wanting to do? What are your methods that you as a business, right, have done to fully innovate in a time where people aren't letting you do so?
That's another really good question. Quality. right? It's, you can go to a restaurant and, the service be terrible, but the food is just bomb and like it's the best burger you ever had, the best pizza. Doesn't matter. You're still going to keep going to that restaurant, even if the service sucks, because the food is just so good. And so with our company, we're really heavily focused on quality and service. So we're not a smoke shop. We're a dispensary. And that's the attitude that I want my staff to have. And so we try to innovate on the service side and using those tried and true methods of customer service, and also bringing in stuff like consultative selling to the cannabis space. Because as it stands now, if you want to get hemp, you have to go to a smoke shop or go to another, a CBD store or something like that. And they just don't have the product knowledge. These kids are the people, and they just don't know. They can't answer questions. And then what happens? Well, somebody goes and they eat a gummy and they weren't given proper instructions, and then they OD. And to be clear to the audience, when I say OD, I don't mean like OD like they died. I just mean like they took too much. They overdosed. There's never in the history of the world, in the history of the planet, ever been an OD on cannabis. You would have to consume 70,000 milligrams of cannabis, of THC, and that's just impossible. And so I take it upon myself and my company and my staff to have, it's a big responsibility. You're eating this, you're ingesting it, you're putting it into your body. You got to know what it is, And so, to answer your question, we innovate on that side. I can't tell you how many people have come to the shop and been like, yo, your people are so informative, or they answered all my questions. And like, I know this sounds really weird, but I don't care if you buy or not. I know that sounds bad, but I don't care if you buy the product or not. I genuinely don't. I want you to buy it. I'm going to do my best to give you a quality product. I'm going to do my best to make sure you have an awesome experience, but I'm not tied to that transaction. Like that transaction is not going to make or break me. And so I focus on quality and service and just your journey while you're there,
And that's one of the things that attracted me to you guys the most is y'all's knowledge over your product. Because I remember when I first met y'all back in October, I was talking to y'all, asking y'all questions, and y'all literally answered every question I had and made me feel comfortable with what I was getting. And y'all told me how to use it, how to take it, and it was just that experience alone goes such a long way, and it's very impressive. Like, along with your marketing, you guys have like the perfect game plan almost.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I really do. It's we're having a lot of fun, and that's the cool thing is, we're having fun. I get to meet cool ass people like you guys. You guys are super cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and it's nice when when you put yourself out there, right? This was an idea that started here, and now it's on a shirt. I have to share a story with you of how we got jacked one time though, because this.
Yes.
So this definitely happens. So you have to be careful. So our first party was our first coming out party was 713 Day, and this was at Rise Rooftop, and we were the sponsor, not the title sponsor, but we were the only cannabis sponsor. So nobody else was selling joints there but us. And so it was Paul Wall, it was Slim Thug, Little Kiki, Big Pokey, Zero, all these Houston rappers, right? And we were selling, we had styrofoam cups with the HoneySuckle logo on it and stuff like that. And so we needed to get some pre-rolls for this event. And so I had, communication with the supplier, and I had never ordered anything from him before, but he had spoken to me for 2 hours when I first started and was just giving me game for free, which was super cool. He's a chemist, right? And so he was just telling me about, anyway, I ordered 1,000 pre-rolls in tubes, and right up until the day of the event, they hadn't gotten there yet. And I'm like, yo, what's up? You're going to leave me out here. I had a plan B, but that's another story. I had already had a backup plan, but they get there the day after the event. And so we were cool, whatever. So I opened the door, and I'm on the phone with them like, oh, look, they just got here. I open the door, and I see the box is open, and the box is completely empty.
Oh, dang.
And I said, yo, this box is empty, man. He goes, what the fuck? I said, yeah, man, this box is empty. And I showed him the picture, and he was like, oh, man. And I was like, I get this. This has probably happened before, hasn't it? And he was like, yep. These idiots they sent the product in the box that was labeled with pre-roll tubes. It was the box they had. The box they had bought the empty tubes in, and they just packed it in that shit and sent it to me. I was like, bro, how stupid could you be?
They didn't even put wrapping paper or something on it.
They didn't put dick on it. They didn't put anything on it.
Oh my god.
So anyway,
1,000 pre-rolls, hey.
Dude, that was like
a change.
That was like $3,000, $4,000. Thankfully, he was cool about it, and I didn't have to pay for it.
Okay.
As it should be. Too, from a consumer standpoint, if somebody's coming to jack product, you should 100% be, not be liable for what gets lost, right?
But these are the things that you run into. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that becomes a supply chain issue at that point too, because if you don't get your product, then all of a sudden things are behind. And if people are specifically coming to your store to purchase, those specific pre-rolls, things like that, that they can only wait so long before they start to, jump in, as a business owner, before they start jumping in to try other products, outside that are similar to what they like, right? So, sometimes that's lost business, when things like that happen, even though it's like, oh, okay, I didn't have to pay for it. You did pay for it in a way because you still potentially lost a sale or some business where somebody was coming in specifically looking for that. And you may not have had it on the shelves, right? So
that's crazy, though.
That's rough, man.
Thankfully for him, I understand that mistakes happen and shit happens, and he's super cool guy, and I've never met him face to face, but like I said, every time I call him, he's available. He's happy to explain shit to me. He's very transparent, and so to me that means something, So he's the one that gets me the watermelon gummies, actually.
Oh, okay, cool, great.
Y'all definitely give me such interesting vibes, right? Like, y'all give me vibes of the innovators in the space, right? And when I say that, like, because I know y'all say yes, you're feeling it, but it really feels like that when you talk about it, right? Because of the networks that you're pulling and what you're talking about, just like generally, like when you're starting something new, right? Especially as something where it's kind of just there's a little bit of fogginess, right? In terms of a bunch of different aspects of the business, like it can get like, you got to have each other's back at the end of the day, because there's a lot of people in the same field that you're working in that are crooks at the end of the day, that are trying to take product from you, that are trying to take business from you, that are trying to cheat other people out of their money, right? And so, like, having that trust in one another, even when things happen, right? Even when things happen and people lose out on a little bit of product or a little bit of money, right? Having that trust in each other reminds me of just it's just a really cool step in the route of the big pioneer in a new venture, right? And I think it's really cool to like hear, because life in terms of perfection and businesses in terms of perfection do not come without growing pains, and that is a big one, right? Because sometimes they do talk about just general, like everyone talks about, okay, it was hard to kind of like figure out what we wanted for our marketing tactics, or it was hard to figure out where we were going. But people don't talk about, okay, this is when we lost product this one time. This is what this is the experience that we had, and this is how we kind of were able to get around it. People just don't talk about that because they don't want to, right? But I think it's really cool, and that's how you can tell you're pioneers in this space, because you are willing to have those conversations about, just consider just general loss and how to prevent that loss going forward. Just knowing, okay, if you're gonna do this, don't send them in that box next time. Go for a different, more like less obvious.
At least put some tape over the pre-roll sign.
Something that completely doesn't shine, or something that can be more, maybe like they come in a bunch of sets of like tubes. You can put like just general like oil tubes. Like you can have them like in really blank packages.
Rip the sticker off. All they got to do is rip the sticker off.
Put some tape over or something.
Or get a magic marker like a Sharpie or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's boom.
Help a brother out.
What's up, everybody? Kyle Austin from the Weekly Podcast. Just here to talk to you for a short segment about Ballsy. Ballsy is a men's health and wellness company striving on keeping your balls healthy, clean, and fresh for not only yourself, but for your lady. Check out their signature sack pack as just an example, full with their ball wash, that's their signature item, as well as their sack spray and their nut rub, keeping your balls nice, fresh, and chafe-free, which honestly especially if you live in that Texas heat or that Louisiana heat too, or that Louisville cold. Is perfect just for that occasion. So you can actually get a nice percentage off by typing in the code TWD 15 at checkout for 15% off. So check out Ballsy. You'll be glad you did.
Remember, use TWD 15, keep the funk off your junk, and support the people that support us, because we were
Ballsy. They've got your sack. So, okay. So another question, I guess, when it comes to, we have one coming from Chris, actually. So he can answer that first. What's your general advice for someone who's not only starting a business, but starting a business in this industry?
Starting a business in this industry or just in general?
Let's go in this industry, because I think that's more of just a good general question to ask, because this is where it gets more difficult, because starting a business is, you can find that, but starting a business in your industry, that takes knowledge from somebody who has experienced it.
Appreciate the question, Curls246. And so first it all starts with your mindset, right? And just having the right mindset and understanding that this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and it's going to be hard, and there's going to be, challenges, but cash flow is king. You have to have cash flow. And so if you have a job, like these guys have a job and they're doing this on the side, they keep the job for cash flow, so they can pay their bills until they've built this up to where they can pay themselves. And so there's no shame in that. There's no shame in a job. Damon John from Shark Tank, he notoriously has said, I worked as a server at Red Lobster because I had flexible hours and I had cash in my pocket every night. And so cash flow is king. Another thing I would say is just have integrity in your word. And what I mean by that is, if you say you're going to do something, then do it. If your word is pretty much everything you have, so just be consistent in your word. Take care of stuff on the front end, right? Don't try to drop surprises on people at the end. Just be transparent, be upfront. That's just good business. You know what I mean? And I think that when you hash out all the stuff in the beginning, you're just set yourself up for success in the end. As far as if you want to get into the, technicalities of business formation and stuff like that, we can do that. If you can afford it, go for the LLC. If you can afford it, do it. It's going to cost you a couple $100. I actually am a member with a company called Legal Shield, and it's kind of like legal insurance. And so, I pay a monthly fee and I have unlimited access to a law firm, and it's just, something that we invest in to protect ourselves. We've been with them even before we had this business. So if you can afford it, get the LLC. If you can't afford it, you can go get a DBA. And basically what that means is Daniel says, hey, listen, I want to do business as, my name is Daniel, but I want to do business as the Weekly D podcast. And so if he create, that only costs $20. And so you're able to go now with that to a bank and open up a bank account for the business. And I hope I'm not getting in the weeds too. If you guys just stop me if you think that I'm going in the wrong direction.
No, you're giving us some alpha right here, my friend.
Okay.
I don't know much about DBA process, so this is actually something we're going to look into after.
Yeah, it's actually
we're working on building out. We're working on building out an LLC and getting that kind of set up and ready to go. But
LLC is the way to go, man, because you have the protection, right? As a DBA, you're just basically saying, I'm doing business as Mixer Elixir Ranch Water. You know what I mean? And so, but there's no protection in terms of legality of somebody coming after you, right? In the United States of America, corporations are people. They have their own social security numbers, and they act as a layer of protection from you as an individual. And so, once you do all that and you're all set up, you have to have an IG. I mean, Instagram is mandatory at this point. TikTok at this point they're all mandatory. And you may say to yourself well, damn, I can't do that, or I don't have time for that. Just start with one. Start with one, and then you keep growing and growing and growing. What else?
I guess
trust the product and trust the process.
Yeah, trust the process for sure. And don't be afraid to fail. I know that sounds cliche, but like you just gotta entrepreneurship is a lot of like sports. Like you train in the gym, you have your coach. A lot of people have business coaches, or you have your partner that you work out with. You game plan, you strategize, you put a business plan together, right? And then you go out in the field. And even in sales, they call it the field. Oh, I'm out in the field, because you're in the game. And then when you're making sales and you got your stats at the end of the month, you look at all your numbers, those are your stats. And you can see, like, where are we doing? Where are we deficient? Where do we need to do, focus at? Where do we need to do better at? And then you tweak, and then you go back out to the field and you try again. And then it's just this constant, like, playing adjustment until you reach your goals. That's it.
Yeah, perfectly said. Yeah, that's kind of like my phrase for this year. Everyone does stuff for the new year and whatnot. This year, my phrase is trust the process. Do it and trust the process. If you have a good game plan, it should work out. And we may fail, we may succeed, but we won't know until we do it.
One other crucial ingredient that has been the secret, besides my wife, because my wife is just amazing. One more crucial thing that you need is you need to be a reader and enjoy to read and pick up as many books as you can. And I know that sounds boring. It's not very glamorous. Start with an audiobook. When you read, you're able to draw on experience of someone that did something for 60 years or however long, and you're able to pick it up for a month and get all of that knowledge. And so you just pick out what relates to you or what makes sense for you. But reading has just been so instrumental in just my personal development. You have to develop yourself personally. This is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, sure. Is there any specific book that inspired you or that you pull the most knowledge from?
There's just so many. Think and Grow Rich. Okay. It's a little out there, it's a little metaphysical, but Gary's books, read Crush It. Crush It will get you excited. Yeah. Trying to not think of any two that are too big.
Yeah.
There's a lot out there, man. Maybe I need to come up with like Carlos's book list or something like that.
There you go.
That's always a nice thing for social media in general.
Yeah.
I know one thing.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and then and one last thing with regard to like getting started, like people are down on network marketing and multi-level marketing and things like that. And there's certainly bad actors in multi-level marketing, but there's bad actors in every industry. And no matter what you're into, there's assholes. If you find a really good company that has a really good product that's focusing on sales of that product and not so much like they're really focused on developing a product and selling something, network marketing really allows you to be like in the gym and train as an entrepreneur with all that high risk, because your buy-in is usually really low. You don't have to worry about a lot of marketing because they provide all that stuff for you, right? And so your initial startup cost is very low, but the upside is you get mentors, you get training, they teach you that culture of reading and personal development and positivity, which is just so important. So I just want to.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to mention one thing that I'm sure you'd also recommend, and just general, is and that's something I've learned personally as we've been building this whole thing, right? Is find people that are like-minded in what you're building and have like that goal and that drive of what you want to build, and build it with them. Like
that is for sure.
Don't be afraid to just say, hey, like, we're doing this thing. I see that you have this really cool talent, like, or you have this thing that, like, I think you could be really successful doing this. We don't have the money right now or the capital, at the moment to like really provide like a monetary value for you. But what we can do is, you know, continue to not only build on your skill set, but potentially we can make this something where, you know, potentially you can have this as a job for the rest of your life, you know, and that's kind of what we done.
That's
because
pretty much
the
the groundwork.
Yeah.
With what we've done.
And when with that, we found so many great people that have so much potential, you know, especially for the long term, because not only are they building their skill sets in general, and if they decide at that point that they want to go somewhere else and start working for a media company, now they have some experience where they can be like I did a lot of this and I can show you examples of what I've been able to do as a direct result. So it's not always, you know, cut and dry, but surrounding yourself with good people who understand your vision, understand the knowledge, and understand what you're trying to build is so important, especially in the future success and the future growth of your business.
Yeah, it just elevates you when you have people with the same goal, you know, and different talents.
Totally. And don't be afraid to drop people. Like, that's hard, Brandon. That's super hard, you know? Don't be afraid to drop people. I mean, that's just the way it is. You're going to have to drop some folks.
Yeah, some people you may see jump in, they may kind of like at first coincide with your talents, and eventually they just either aren't bringing what they need to the table, or they just are going a different direction than you are, and you just aren't agreeing with it. And sometimes that is the hard question, but it's a no hard feelings conversation. It's really just business. And when people say that, it's not a mean thing or a slight. It really is just business. You're trying to make sure that your business is successful and survives at the end of the day,
and that it keeps moving forward. Like it doesn't stay stagnant. I mean, that happened literally with these podcasts. Kyle used to have his own podcast. I created the Weekly D podcast with someone else, and we both ended up dropping the people we're doing it with and came together to elevate this podcast and bring it into a new direction, which, I mean, we've seen nothing but success so far. So
I love it.
I firmly believe that. Yeah.
I love it.
But I mean, that's just the kind of main thing. It's the same thing with having friends, right? Like sometimes you have to understand when a friend is no longer benefiting you, or you're no longer benefiting your friend. It's just becoming a toxic mentality and a toxic behavior, to where it's just like you need to kind of be able to know when to cut that tie, you know, or to just not necessarily just cut that tie, but to just kind of close off communication as like slowly, or weed it off. Maybe they're not best business partners, but they're still great friends, right? And finding a way to kind of like have that balance is so important in the survival, right, of these long-term ventures.
100%. Oh, I thought of a book.
Okay.
What you got?
Ego is the Enemy.
Oh, okay. Just by the title, that sounds good.
Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday.
Okay.
Ego.
Okay. I'm gonna put that one down. Yeah.
Really good, really good. I got an Audible subscription, and then I'll listen to them in the car, and then if I like them a lot, then I'll just buy them, and then I'll buy the physical copy and I'll read it like that.
Reread it. Okay.
I'm gonna check that out myself. I actually got a Gary V book coming in, specifically. I don't know what it's called or anything, but my friend was giving them away for free, so I was like, just send me one. So I have one coming in the mail. So hopefully I'll be able to get some Gary V alpha in for like a little bit soon.
Yep. We got another listener question from Curls246. She asks, "What phrase do you live by and why?"
One phrase that I always, so you know, I grew up in the 90s and the 80s, and you know, one of my favorite movies is Jerry Maguire, and it's not a Tom Cruise line, it's actually Jay Moore's line, Bob Sugar, where he says, "It ain't show friends, it's show business." and I say that all the time because in the business world, you know, you have conversations with other business owners, and you know, people complain because they they had a failed relationship or something's not going their way, and they're in their feelings about it. And I mean, I'm a human being, I got feelings too, you know, but like just kind of like going back to that personal development, like trying to take the emotion out of it. And you know, oh well, you had, like, let's say they had an expectation, you know, I just always say, hey, look, it ain't show friends, it's show business. Like, we're not here to make friends, you know, we're here to do business and
make money.
You know, now that doesn't mean you got to be an asshole, right? That doesn't mean be a jerk and screw people over. That just means that, you know, if somebody comes and screws you over or is a jerk to you, you just got to take it like, hey man, it's not show friends, it's show business, and you're just gonna have to keep it moving and know now you know where to put that person, and now you know, like, I'm not gonna be dealing with it anymore. And then also have the wisdom now to spot somebody just like that person, so you don't make the same mistake.
Gotcha.
Facts.
Yeah.
You bring so much knowledge, and I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah, you're just dropping bombs on us.
I'm old, man. I done been here.
You know what?
That's it, bro. That's it.
That's the beauty of doing a podcast like this. Is we get to learn so much, and the people listening or watching get to learn, like, just from different people, like different experiences. I'm super thankful that you came on the show, because like
anytime, bro. Anytime. You let me know when you want to do it again, man. I'm down.
Of course, man. Of course. We'll definitely link up multiple times. Like, I feel like this is a friendship that we're building here, and hopefully we stay friends for a very long time.
For sure, bro.
Plus, somebody can be older but lack experience, right? And I think that comes down to I've met so many people that are like, you know, just in their mid 30s, going into their 40s or going into their 50s, that honestly don't have the same experience or knowledge that they need realistically in a lot of ways, you know, in order to be long-term successful. Like, they're stuck in this one mindset, and they're not really thinking outside the box anymore, because they just are, I don't know if it's they're afraid to, or if they just refuse to do so because they're comfortable, right? And I see you as a person who doesn't like to be comfortable for long. I see you as a person who likes to grow and likes to see where they can, you know, innovate next, and where they can kind of change the game next. What can I do to make myself better? Sorry, I saw Chad said he's a grower, not a shower. But nonetheless, you get what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
Yes, man,
some people can be older and lack a ton of experience, you know, to where they're almost childlike in mindset.
Yeah.
And I just don't see that.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, bro. I appreciate it, man. It's not, listen, like I was telling before, man, this is a work in progress every single day, you know? Work in progress every single day.
Yeah.
So I have one more question, by the way, if you don't mind. So just in general, when we're talking age, right, and just general, we do see a lot of older people, especially like in the, you know, 50 to 60 range, a lot of people's, you know, moms or fathers in general that had been told their entire life, cannabis is a gateway drug. It's bad for you. You shouldn't do it. They, you know, a lot of them, you know, did actually get scared away from it, not realizing that there's, you know, not only medicinal benefits, but solid recreational benefits as well. Just the things that you can just use to relax and unwind and actually cool down. But what are some things that you would like recommend to the older audience, right? When it comes to maybe your product specifically, what are some things you'd be like, well, if you're trying it for the first time, here's what I'd recommend you taste?
Yeah, that's a good question. You'd be surprised that, you know, they're pretty open. And the funniest thing is, like, when you're there on a Saturday afternoon, and, you know, it's a bunch of moms and they got their glass of wine in their hand and they're just like shopping, and they're just, you know, the little group and stuff. And like one time, this one came up and she was like, oh yeah, I need something for my anxiety and things like that. And then her friend, she was buying it, and then there's like four of them. One of her friends was like, oh my God, what are you gonna do with that? And she's like, I'm gonna eat it. And I'm gonna have a good time. And she's like, oh my God. And it's funny because then they walk around the corner, I can still hear them. She's like, you're crazy. Oh my, I can't believe you're gonna do that. You're crazy. And it's just like you said, it's just preconceived indoctrination from when they were a kid, right? The war on drugs and Law and Order and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I think that the color of our brand, like I said before, is very inviting. And so it allows them to ask questions. I think that most older folks that are a little bit older than me have seen the opioid crisis. They've lived already through the drug war and seen that it's a failure. Also, we live in a pretty progressive city. And so there are lots of people that are pretty progressive here. You know, I try to make it light. I try to make it really fun and just very casual and not, you know, and I think I'm really good at talking to someone and kind of gauging where they're at and knowing if I have to be the funny, jokey, poking, fun guy, or, you know, just to make them laugh, or if I need to be like, okay, this person's having an ailment that's for real. I have to just listen and just kind of try to fit them in the best product for them. And so a lot of it is a question like, are you looking for psychoactive, or you don't want it to be psychoactive? Like, do you want to be high or you don't want to be high? No, I don't want to be high. Okay, well, CBD is going to be for you. That's going to relax you. It's going to, help you have a better night's sleep. It's going to help you with your inflammation. It's going to be antioxidant. And when they start hearing these things, or because their doctor may have suggested it to them. And so as these things start opening up, they start opening up, Yeah. Another another situation I'll run into is where like the parents are buying it to have a good time. And then their 16, 17, 18-year-old kids are like, all bashful, like, Mom, what are you doing? You're so silly. Like, why are you buying THC gummies? You're crazy. So that's pretty funny. And then the best one is when the ladies come with like, they have these little pouches that have like, that they buy drinks in, and they serve them like, Deep Eddies or whatever it is. And so I have the nectar bottle, the water soluble stuff. I have a sample one on the table. And so like, hey, if you're feeling ambitious today, I'll give you a little couple of squirts while you do your shopping or whatever. And I'll just give them 2 pumps right into their drink. And they just come back 15 minutes later. They're like, thank you. Oh my God, I'm feeling great. So it's really funny, dude. It's really funny.
Oh, we got a really good question from the listeners, from Crow246 again. She said, how did your friends and family react to your business idea when you...
And that's a really, really good question, because I think that lots of people that are my generation and that are in the workforce are in the closet, so to speak, and live in the shadows when it comes to cannabis consumption, and, especially living in Texas where it's not legal or whatever. And so I quit my job to do this. And so this was and it's so layered, dude. I moved to Houston 7 years ago. Nobody really knew me from my past life. I didn't know anybody here. And so I was a small business coach. And so that was kind of like the identity that I built here. And so now I come out all of a sudden like, oh, I'm selling cannabis. It shocked some folks, and it even shocked some people in my wife's circle, because we have businesses. We've been in nonprofit, we've been in this, talked with the mayor, and like we've done all these types of things. And so it's like reinventing yourself, but not reinventing yourself, which is really fucking weird.
It's like letting out your true self.
Say again?
Is it like letting out your true self? Like
100%.
Yeah.
You guys have no idea how much freer I feel. I told my wife I'll never wear a collared shirt ever again if I don't have to. Like I have all these collared shirts and I don't want to wear them. You know what I mean? And so the friends have been cool. They're supportive. They're like, awesome. That's cool. But family, haven't really got a whole lot of congratulations, or, family came and they didn't even want to look at the shop. Like, they
really
went to Railway and everything, and they didn't even walk back there.
Wow.
So that's tough,
Yeah. Is your family, are you first generation? If you don't mind me asking, like first generation immigrant?
Yeah, my mom
here is Cuban descent.
Yeah, my mom came in 1954. No, I'm sorry. My mom came in 1969 after the Cuban Revolution, after Castro took power. But my father came in 1958, literally the month before he came through with the tanks. Like they got out.
Wow.
Really wild. It's a crazy story, but so yeah, so that they're very old school, Miami in the 80s was like, drugs. So yeah, but to answer the viewer's question, like friends were cool with it, family, they knew what was up, like they knew I'm a user, but it was not really like I never had myself on my Instagram smoking joints or anything like that, you know what I mean? So
which is always the thing, like I've in general, just because of the way the workforce is and stuff, like just best not to do that in general, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're out there just chugging brews or, you know, doing whatever. Like your business is your private business, right? And what you is on your own. Like, and so I've always been one of those people that's just like, if you're gonna do something, just enjoy it, you know, in your private time. Like, you don't need to showcase it all over the internet, because for one, it's nobody else's business except yours, and two, you could potentially like put yourself at risk for employment down the road. You just need to like make sure you're always watching what you're doing, you know. And
it's true.
It's all about being careful with what you're doing, especially as a business entrepreneur, right? And somebody who's building a business, right? Like, from your perspective, the last thing, as somebody who's trying to be a legitimate business, not only from the field of like recreational use of just not only just cannabis, but going into like CBD, moving into more of the different route, which is more health and wellness versus the Delta 8, and being able to balance that. It doesn't really have somebody kind of showcasing, oh, I'm just going to constantly smoke a joint every single day, like on social media, just to showcase that like I do use it. Like, if you're owning a business, obviously you're a user, and you're somebody who, you know, is a connoisseur of the actual like product, right? So I don't know. That's always been my mindset in general. Oh, I think you're on mute, Carlos.
My dad used to always say, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
You know, and if that's the way, like, it's your page, it's your identity online, and you know, but you're right. You do have to, if you're in a certain position in your life, you do have to be careful what you do. So yeah, definitely. I think we had another question here.
We do, actually. It is from Prime Gaming Tombstone X OGX. Do you have a full circle moment that made you realize that this was definitely the right choice in career path?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, man, almost pretty much, I have a full circle moment like almost every other week, I guess, when every time we hit a new milestone, like when I hired my first employee, like that was a good feeling. When I hired my second employee, that was a good feeling. When I created a shirt with my logo on it, you know, I know that sounds silly, but you know,
feels so good.
Being able to wear sneakers and joggers every day to work and a hoodie is like heaven to me. Being able to, like, you know, hang out at this Railway Heights place, which is a dope place, and talk to people about cannabis and laugh with them about their experiences, and, you know, and actually putting something out that people like is, you know, because that network marketing experience, I have to say, was very difficult. It was fun. I had fun. We made money. I love the product. It's Legal Shield, actually. I love the product. It's an amazing company, but rejection is hard, man. Like having the phone, people tell you no all the time, and having to follow up, like you got to have special in person to be a sales guy, like doing cold calls and stuff like that.
Outside sales is painful, man.
It's tough, bro. It's tough. So to go from that to now, like, having a product, this is our first product. We've only done services. So now we actually have a physical product that people love and people are excited about. Like, man, it's very humbling, bro. It's very humbling.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I mean, I completely understand it when you said right now about having your own logo on your T-shirt. Like, as a podcast, you know, I started making stickers and things like that, and just seeing the full sticker come into fruition and seeing the print, you know, and it's the quality you want, but it feels so good. So I completely understand that feeling where it's such a gratifying feeling where you're just like, whoa, like, this is my brand, this is my product, and this is my name. It's just dope. It's super.
You know what? And you know what? If it doesn't work, if your whole podcast network crashes, God willing, it will never do that. But that's okay, man. That's okay. That's part of the game. You know, we have a saying here in our home: everything's always working out for me, even when it seems like that it isn't. And that really helps us get through like tough shit, you know.
Hell yeah, dude.
No, I like that. Yeah. I really like that. That's a good saying. Because, I mean, anything in business and life, it's full of highs and lows, and you don't know. You got to ride the highs when they're high, and you got to pick yourself back up when you're low.
That's right. That's right.
That's just the sad truth of life. It's the reality of it.
That's it.
And it's amplified when you do a business.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Because then you're in the spotlight at that point.
Yeah, you really are.
So I think we're cutting down. We're gonna go. Let's
go to this or that. It's about that time.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Carlos, this or that is where we ask you rapid fire questions. They're just simple, fun questions, and you answer them to the best of your ability.
Let's do it.
All right. First, this or that is, what do you do when you wake up in the morning? What's the first thing I do?
What's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning?
Yeah.
Probably get my kid up if she's not already up, or go empty the dishwasher.
The life of a dad, huh?
Yeah, sure. Said I jerk off, but don't read that out loud.
Nice job, Bowen.
Wow, Bowen.
Sorry, I started reading it before I saw the part that said don't read it out loud. So I apologize for putting you on blast like that.
He does it to himself. We're gonna be honest.
Yeah, he knew that was gonna happen.
Okay, second one. We'll keep on the subject of cannabis in general. Let's do pre-rolls or edibles.
Ooh.
Pre-rolls. I'm old school, bro.
You're old school?
I'm old school.
You know, there's one thing about like rolling up a joint that's just so satisfying. Like going from the very beginning, from grinding it to, putting it out on the paper, rolling it up. I don't know. It is, and it's so like therapeutic to do it. Like sometimes I'll roll one up and just like set it on the side for like the next day or something. But it's so therapeutic to do it. It's satisfying.
I'll just like look at it, I'll hold it, like touch it, and just like, man, this is a really cool looking joint. And then
awesome. So mine is hot or cold?
Hot or cold?
Yeah.
I think I'd rather be hot than cold. And yeah, hot for sure. Because I like my food like super, super hot. Like my food has to be hot. Like
same.
Like burn my mouth hot, bro. Straight up.
Same. That goes with queso or anything, dude. Like my wife likes everything like lukewarm. Like she likes it warm enough to where it's not burning her mouth. I'm like, I want it to burn my mouth. I want it fresh out of the oven, like pizza, things like that. I suffer the consequences, but that's the way to eat. That's the way to do it.
100%, bro. I agree.
So next question. Let's see. Willie Nelson or Snoop Dogg?
Snoop.
Hey.
Snoop. Y'all gonna give him his flowers when he passes away. Snoop is one of the best rappers of all time. They're sleeping on Snoop.
For sure. I grew up on Snoop, dude.
He's also just a genuine entrepreneur. That dude's doing everything you can think of.
He's in everything, bro. He's in everything.
Yeah. He's the most relevant person in the world in my eyes, besides The Rock.
Yeah, and he can freestyle too. Like he's an MC. Yeah. Like he's not just he's a real MC for real.
Yeah, and he's found a way to innovate. Like he does all sorts of music. I mean, he's done Spanish music, English music,
banda music.
Yeah, like he's so dope.
He's found a way to keep himself relevant in like a time where people can go like that. You know what I mean? Like in literally the blink of an eye, like because of the amount of people and the amount of exposure people have now, the fact that Snoop has remained relevant, and like kids, like our kids and our kids will know who Snoop Dogg is, like just based on who he is as a person. Maybe for different things, but they'll know who Snoop Dogg is.
100%.
Like
I love Snoop.
Cool.
My question is, CBD or Delta 8?
I gotta be honest with you. I would say Delta 8. Yeah, I don't really do too much Delta 8 flower, but I love the Delta 8 gummies. I'll do Delta 8 gummies all day.
Nice. I
have a funny story real quick, a OD story.
Okay.
So I had a small, it was probably this big. It was a tiny watermelon gummy from a vendor I was trying out. It was 50 milligrams. And so I ate half of it. And about an hour went by, and I started feeling a little tingle. And I was like, oh, I'm Mr. Experienced. I'm all good. I'll just take the other half. I was like, this is nice. This must be it. And I took the other half. And I went to go. My mom was in town. My tia was in town. My abuelita was in town. And I'm the oldest one, and my kid is 3. So everybody's grown, and I'm the one with the kid. And so we went to go eat, and then all of a sudden, bro, it smacked me out of nowhere so damn hard. And I was like, okay, bro, just be cool. Just be cool. Just don't talk. I was super paranoid, dude. But I got through it. But it was a pretty crazy experience. My wife was like, I had no idea. And I was like, well, I was super lit.
That's so funny because I have like edibles are my worst enemy, but I love them so much. But I never know how to gauge it right. Like even with the Delta 8 gummies, also like I ate one. 30 minutes later, I didn't feel anything. I ate a second one, and then next thing I know, it's hitting me in waves, and I'm just like, it hit me, and I was like, whoa! Like it smacked me in the face.
Try to eat it. Try to eat it on a full stomach, bro. It hits so much harder on a full stomach.
I'm gonna have to do that because like the last time I had one, like it hit me hard, right? And I fell asleep. I was like, I need to sleep this off because I started getting paranoid. I started forgetting how to breathe and shit. And and I wake up like 2 hours later and I'm still high as shit. And I was just like, oh my God, I think I overdid this. And it just kept hitting me in waves, man. It was such a fun time, but at the same time, I always get super paranoid when I get that high or like that intoxicated feeling. So I was
Here's the pro tip. If you ever, and this is for everybody, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're OD, like you just took too much, like you're super stoned or whatever, smoke some CBD and it will bring you down.
Really?
Yeah. Obviously, you could eat it too, but it's just going to take longer, right? Yeah. Smoking is the fastest way. Unless.
Oh, that's good to know. Usually I like walk around, splash water on my face. Try to sleep it off, but yeah, man, it hit me hard. I was not expecting that out those gummies.
That's funny.
It was a good time though. Definitely a good time. I can't deny that. All right, Kyle, you got one? You're on mute. Kyle, you're muted. The whole mute button gets so confusing. Like if you're not careful with it.
You just go in and you're just like, oh my goodness. Let me think. So let's go. If we're gonna go fast, let's just go fast food. Let's go KFC versus Popeyes.
Damn. I'll say Popeyes.
100% agree. As somebody who lives in Kentucky, it is 100% gonna be Popeyes every day.
I mean, I used to love the original recipe from KFC back in the day when I was a kid, but now it's just way too greasy. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I will say, if you ever get a chance to come to Louisville at any point, whether it be to showcase some CBD, if you grow and expand, things like that, or just whatever, there's a restaurant here called Claudia Sanders Dinner House. It actually is, Claudia Sanders is Colonel Sanders' wife, and it actually was his last restaurant he built to spite the KFC company because they had changed his 11 herbs and spices. So he got so mad that he wrote and he created an entirely different set. It's one restaurant that's here, and it's fire. And it's the closest you can get to the OG, KFC recipe. And you can actually buy their like little seasoning packet and everything with all the herbs and spices and stuff. And it's awesome.
That's bucket list for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Cool. Yeah.
If for some reason you come in the near future, like I got you.
I'll go just for that damn restaurant, bro.
Hell yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna talk it up and it's gonna be shit that day we go, but it's always how it goes, man. But they have a super delicious thing there too called the hot brown, which is a big Kentucky like staple.
Oh,
and I know the name of it sounds horrible, but it's really famous and stuff like that. But basically what it is, it's turkey, like sliced turkey, Mornay sauce, which is like a butter and cheese sauce, bacon, more cheese, kind of just like oven baked on it with like chopped tomato, and it is awesome. It's literally one of the most delicious sandwiches you could ever. It's an open face sandwich, but it's more like something you eat with a knife and a fork. Yeah, but it's a Kentucky, only in Louisville thing, and it's the greatest thing ever.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, they make a really good one at that place too. It's got like ham in it.
I love to eat.
Oh, same. As you can tell, like in general, I'm a hungry dude, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Are you tall? You look tall. Are you tall?
Almost 6 foot. Almost 6 foot. But like 5'11", like right there. But yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy, man. And once again, by the way, thank you again for coming on and talking with us today. We really do appreciate it. I think it's been not only have you been just a great guest, but I think you brought a lot of really good advice and just really good just business knowledge as a whole. And not only do I appreciate it, but I know our listeners I'm sure appreciate it as well. And I think this will also get some people some ideas potentially on their future path on whatever they venture into, whether that be cannabis, whether that be, or whatever the next like pioneer, big move is. Like, I hope, just by listening to this, if they get an opportunity, they think about those things and maybe push to be the next big innovator.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got one more question. And then we can close it. It's my last question for this or that. I like asking everybody. It's an open-ended question. It's, my name is Carlos and I am.
My name is Carlos and I'm high as fuck.
That's perfect. All right. Well, thank you again, Carlos, for coming on. Thank you for having an amazing brand, an amazing product, HoneySuckle Brand. This is the part of the show where we let you shout out all your social medias and whatever you want to promote.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys so much. Honestly, like, it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully we can do it again. Thank you to everybody who was part of it. Thanks to Alan and to Danny for doing the back end stuff. And thank you to the callers, to the watchers, the listeners for the questions. I really do appreciate it. If you want to find out what's going on with Honeysuckle Brand, we're on IG at honeysucklebrand.com. That's basically where our hub is, where we do most of our work. We're also at Honeysuckle Brand on Facebook. Soon going to be doing some TikTok stuff, but Instagram is really where it's at. If you're in the Houston area and you want to come see us, we're at Railway Heights Market, which is at 8200 Washington Avenue. And that's right off of I-10 and Washington, right in the middle of Houston and the Heights, in the middle of the Heights. We're there 7 days a week. 4 to 9 Monday and Tuesday, 11 to 9 Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and 11 to 10 Friday and Saturday. Sometimes I'm there, but I also have some really great bud tenders like Jem and Kara that can take care of you. The biggest thing that we're promoting right now is our 420 event, and that's going on at Railway Heights on April 20th. It's Wednesday. It starts at 420. We'll run until 9 o'clock. There is a ticket for it. I believe the general admission is $20. There'll be 25 at the door, but you'll be able to burn there. It's all good. We'll have our pre-roll stuff out there. If you need to bring your own bud, that's cool too. We have a reggae band called Them Roots that's going to be performing. Also, Carlos Guzman, DJ Boricua Soul, which is a really good buddy of mine. He's an amazing DJ. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Shout to Kyle. Shout to Danny.
Cool, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show again. Thank you to Alan, our producer. Thank you to Chris, our Twitch moderator. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Carlos, again for coming on. Thank you to all the listeners. If you want to follow us on all social medias, it's at The Weekly Geek Pod. You can follow me at Danny_G951. You can follow Kyle at
It's That Guy Kyle.
Yeah, and thank you again for the amazing opportunity to interview you. We really appreciate it, and thank you to everyone else.
Thank you, guys, man. You guys are doing an awesome job. I appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, you, man.
Peace.
All right, and that's us. Peace.